Good afternoon, welcome to Alaska in the summertime. I'm here making a video not about aircraft or Bearhawk or anything like that, but it's about changing the fuel door and also the surrounding area on a 2016 Subaru Outback. Here you can see the fending car. It's a very nice car. It's my wife's. She really likes it and it really works really well. The only thing is, in the wintertime, that whenever you try to open up the fuel door with the little lever that's next to the driver seat, the fuel door doesn't pop open. And apparently it's a known issue with Subarus. Subaru has, or the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, whoever it is, they've got some type of a recall out for this particular issue. And Subaru has a part that's a replacement part that ostensibly solves the problem. I bought the part last winter time. It's now summer, good time to put it in. So what do you have to do to replace it? You have to do a lot. And there's one little trick that I found that'll probably save you quite a bit of time. So I just wanted to go through the steps here real quick just to show you how it's done, and maybe you'll have some success as well. There's the part right here. This is the old part already taken out. I didn't want to make this video without having some success, and once the part is in, it's in for good. Kind of have to destroy the part breaking it out, but anyway, this is what it looks like. And I guess I redesigned this latching system here. And here's what it looks like when it's installed into the Subaru. That is the new part right there, and there's a reason why that little piece of wire is hanging out, and that's probably the key to this whole project, is having that little tiny wire, and I'll tell you why. Okay, after you get the tub out, the very next thing you're going to have to do is get this thing out. It's a ring. This ring, it fits over the filler neck just like this. Kind of helps guide the cap on. And you can see that this has got steps all the way around, and where there's a little plastic tab that kind of helps locks it in place. When you push this thing on, you turn it, and then you turn it to lock it, that little tab pops up right in this area, and it doesn't allow it to go back. So you just have to find where that little locking tab is. There's 4 areas around this particular part, and it's kind of hard to see around the filler neck, but there's a little plastic collar around there, and it has these tabs and associated slots that go with this. So you find that, and all you have to do is just take it, once you push it down, you take and rotate it back, and then you just pull it straight out, because those little dogs that are engaged in this little lip area, they rotate out, and then you can just go straight out with it. This is the last part I'm going to put in. Next, what you have to do is take this little gizzy out here. This is the little bezel for the fuel filler neck, and what kind of connects everything together. It's a one-way part, by the way. I'll show you where it goes. You can see there's these 4 holes here. Those 4 holes correspond to the area underneath here, where you can see there's 4 holes around there. Those little plastic tabs stick out through there and then lock it into place. It's a one-way part, like I said. If you look at it, look at the difference between the two now. I don't know if you can see that on camera very well. The one on the right is the one that I took out. You can see how those little ears are kind of broken and squished down. Now take a look at the one on the left. You can see how they're standing proud of the plastic. Oops, there we go. That's a little bit better. So the one on the right is the one I took out. The one on the left I'm going to put in. So that just snaps into place, and that's one of the last things to go. Second to last thing to go, and then the last thing to put in is going to be this filler neck item. So how do you get this thing out? Well, that's really interesting. I was looking at the new part, and I saw that there was these tabs, 4 of them, all the way around, and they look pretty beefy. There's no real way to go ahead and take those tabs out without having something to push against. Well, if you take a look on the inside here, you can see there's actually, because I put those in there, there's 4 holes. I took a piece of welding rod and made myself a little tool. I don't know if you can see it here. Here it is. I sharpened a little piece of welding rod. So you can stick down through this plastic, kind of offset it a little bit like this, and push it through, and then that way you can get up inside there, and then if you look on the back side, you can push that tab down, pushing it towards the middle. So when you put the little tool in there, you push it in. It doesn't need to go in very far, maybe half an inch. And then you rotate it out this way, and then it pushes the tab in. And you can do them one at a time. The new part, or the old part, before I poke the holes in there, just has these little areas here, the 4 little tabs, to show where they are. And I think they did that on purpose, made that plastic a little bit thinner there, so you can put a tool there and go ahead and get the plastic out. Like I said, this is a one-way part. And after I got over that part, or over that issue, I decided that if I destroyed this part, it's really not going to matter a whole lot. So once I got everything loose, it wasn't coming out because of this little thing here, and that is the actual mount of the cable, or the actuator that actually pushes through this. If you look at it, there's a little keyway here. The cable sticks in there and rotates 90 degrees and locks in place. The only way that you can access that particular thing from the inside, which is really, it'd be really easy if you could get it from the inside. The only way that you can do it is by taking this back panel off, where the speaker is. And if you take that back panel off, there is a lot to do. You got to take all the panels forward of the door, all the way back, and you got to take the rear valence panel off here, this plastic piece, to get to this. And it's an awful lot of work. I didn't want to do that. So, like I said, I figured since this is a one-way part, I took my little Dremel tool right here, being very careful not to cut into the bottom. And I just eased the cut here in the plastic here in the bottom. You can see it here just a little bit, just so it relaxed the pressure on the cable, and I was able to take and rotate it back and then push the cable back into the fender well. It's easy to retrieve once it's back in there, and then I could pick it out later, and then that was the only thing that was keeping this from popping out. Once this cable was free, I had this little bezel out here, this little plastic thing. All I had to do was get my little tool in here, put one tab down, pull it out a little bit, push one tab down in here, pull it out a little bit, and then just basically take this whole thing and pull it out. Now it's not going to come out super easy because this back part is made out of rubber. It's really soft, but it does fit around the filler neck. So you got to kind of pull it off the filler neck as you're pulling this, and you're rotating out of the cavity where it's going in. You just kind of pull it out and you kind of stretch it over there. Once it's out, then you got your part. Like I said, it's a one-way part, no big deal. The other thing that you have to do is you have to take and you have to put a new, or put this fuel door lid back on it. It's got a little 10mm acorn nut on the top. These tabs engage in the slots here in the door. I didn't want to mess with them, so I took, again, my Dremel tool. You can see where I relieved the tension on those little tabs. See that? And then once I got the little acorn nut off, the lid just popped right off without any damage whatsoever. It looks brand new. The last thing to take out is the lanyard that holds the fuel filler cap. Again, that's a relatively straightforward process. You can see that the little legs that attach it are just fine. If you look in here, this is where the little rivet pokes in. To get to it, you have to come in from behind, and you have the little tabs of the screwdriver, and you just kind of poke them towards the middle while you're pulling a little pressure, or putting a little pressure on the rivet by pulling it outward with the lanyard. Then finally it just pops out. So that's going to be one of the last things to put in. All I have to do is just go to the new door, push this in, and it should be completely fine. Okay, so everybody's saying, okay, well, big deal, what's the big deal? There's no real magic to what you've done so far. Well, probably not, but the thing is how do you get this particular cable back into place without having to tear out the whole inside of the Subaru? So I came up with a plan. This is very nice, by the way, and this is all very clean back in here. There's nothing, it's all inside the vehicle. There's no mud, there's no dust or anything, so it is inside the vehicle. And it does have a little rubber washer on the outside, which I've taken off. And then there's, you can see it here. I'm sorry, I should probably let you take a look at it, because that just pops off with a little screwdriver. There it is. Real soft. All you do is just take it off. So I figured, okay, how am I going to pull that cable back through without having to tear back into the Subaru? Because this part will not go in with this cable installed. There's absolutely no way. And the reason for that is this hinge. See how big this hinge is, which is hiding behind the body. This has to slip in underneath, and then this just rotates into place. But there's very little clearance here between here and the edge of the body. There's no way you're going to be able to do that. So what's the magic to this? I took a very, very fine drill bit, and I drilled a hole into the end of this little cable end, and it's plastic. And I got some 20,000 stainless steel safety wire and made myself just a little pull cable. Yeah, it's about 18 inches long. And then I dropped the cable back into the fender. I went ahead and fished this piece of wire back through this hole. Then holding this wire, making sure it doesn't slip through, just the edge of it, making sure. I went ahead and put the fuel filter neck in, rotated it a little bit, got the little rubber to fit around the filler neck, and then snap these 4 places into place. Remember, this is a one-way deal. Once they're snapped into place, it's nice and tight, weather-tight seal. It's not going anywhere, but you got to get this cable back in, and so it works again. So what I did was I went ahead and pulled the cable back up into the well, or where it fits into the filler neck. I got a screwdriver and I rotated it so these little dogs here, these little dogs that hold this thing in, rotated it so it would poke through, and using pressure with this really strong safety wire, pulled it. And while I was doing that, I took an edge of a screwdriver and took this whole assembly and rotated it 90 degrees. So I went from up here, rotated 90 degrees down to here, and locked it into place, and now I'm done. So I can take that wire out, I can put my little bezel back in here, snap my little filler neck little bezel back on, and also snap my little fuel door cover back on, and then last but not least, put on my lanyard for my fuel cap. I hope that explains something. It took me all afternoon to figure that out, but you know, I didn't see anything on YouTube about it, and I figured it'd be worth it just to go ahead and make a YouTube video and hopefully help somebody out. So there you go. Thank you to the YouTube folks for all the other things I've looked at before, and hopefully this is useful to you as well. Take care. Now, one other thing I forgot to mention. Subaru recommends, and also everybody else that's interested in safety, that you take and you put on a new label on the inside of the fuel cover that says that you're only supposed to use unleaded fuel in this automobile. which is okay. All I did was I just took my pocket knife, just lifted the edge of the sticker, and being very careful, just grabbed a corner of it, just pulled it off. It's a very high quality sticker, so it came off relatively easy, and it had enough stickum on the back where all I did was I just went ahead and stuck it back on here on the inside, and it's flat and it's good. There's no edges to catch, and looks like it's all right. So I got the lanyard back in, fuel caps back on, little guide here. The only thing that you can see telltale that I've done something different than factory is you can see there's a tiny little hole there inside that little plastic piece. That's about it. Thanks for watching.